I think you'll have to keep playing until my ministers get here. Just a little bit of piano.
They're running a little bit.
They're running a little late, so you guys keep playing. Right? It's going to be good, right? Keep enjoying it. We don't mind. Oh, look at them coming in here. Oh, they're coming. Just a little bit. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, good morning, all souls. Welcome to The Point. Here at All Souls, here at The Point, agnostics, atheists, humanists, and all kinds of seekers gather in community. No matter what you believe or don't believe or where you come from, you are welcome here and you are loved. I'm Assistant Minister Randy Lewis, and I'm joined on the chancel today by our Senior Minister, Dr. Marlin Lavanar, and our Program Minister, Dr. Nicole Kirk. And we're so excited to be with you this morning, but I really am excited. It's great to be with you all, but I'm really excited. We're celebrating today the 125th anniversary of Duke Ellington through song with our local guest musicians, Mike Cameron, Scott McQuaid, Dean Demerit, and Jared Johnson. We're so excited to have them here. Give them a warm welcome. And welcome to our members online and viewers watching from all over the world. Please let us know in the chat where you're watching us from. Now, if you're a first-time guest with us today or new to All Souls, we have a special gift for you. Now, we welcome you. If you raise your hands, the ushers will bring you a gift, and keep your hands up until you get the gift. And you're also welcome to a special meet and greet immediately after the service in the Sonnen Library. Now at this time, if you join me in saying our covenant that's printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our chalice will be lit today by our senior minister, Marlin Lavanar.
We light this chalice as a beacon of hope and belonging, a flame that celebrates our beautiful diversity while reminding us of our shared humanity. May its glow inspire us to bridge our differences, to live boldly and tenderly as our truest selves, and to bring forth a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and cherished. Together, we create the warmth of community, where each individual light adds its unique glow to illuminate the beauty of the whole. Welcome.
Good morning, y'all. I have a poem for you this morning called All of Us by Catherine Erskine and illustrated by Alexandra Bolsher. Me can be we. You can come too. They can be hey, it's all of us. Hearts can unite, hands can set free, words can be heard, we can all be. Some pray out loud. Some close their eyes. Some look to the earth, some to the skies. Stars are so far. Worlds disappear. Planets far flung. We all live here. Mountains and streams, deserts and towns, breathtaking sights, remarkable sounds. Some build things up, some create art, some help the earth, some heal the heart. Hands, hearts, and minds, vibrant and strong, different, the same, we all belong. All kinds of kids, thoughtful and free, sometimes in groups, sometimes just me. I invite our children and youth to come to Sunday school where we can practice being fully ourselves together.
I'm really excited to invite Roz Elder to come forward onto our chancel. Roz is on our board of trustees, has been a member here for a long time. She's just going to say a word about why she loves All Souls and supports All Souls, because as you know, this is stewardship time here, and so we look for people to inspire us a little bit so that we're generous and give. And Roz, you are a perfect person to do that. So here.
I use this. Okay, thank you. You know what? I love this view. I get to stand up here and look at all of you. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
So, a group of All Souls members, including me, decides we can support refugee families as they settle in Tulsa. So, a group of All Souls members decides they can help Tulsa school children with PI, Partners in Education. So, our high school seniors get to go on a Spirit Quest retreat. So Action All Souls knows the importance of supporting issues at the local level through community engagement. Well, you know, I could spend all morning sharing the outreach and the inreach that programs in this church supports, very successfully, by the way. However, it takes more than volunteers to make this work effective. It takes a professional staff, to make sure we move forward with our goals. Our staff has spent years training to do the work they do to provide a stable structure for our congregation. You know what? This support doesn't come cheaply, and it should not. All Souls has been successful because of the financial support through your pledges. Delete that support, and you know what? Nothing happens. My husband Jim and I have increased our pledge because my time as an All Souls trustee has allowed me to better understand just how much this amazing congregation does and how they do it. As the day begins, the lights come on, the heat and air work, the water runs. We have the supplies we need to support the programs that work 7 days a week. I encourage you to consider all of this as you sign your pledge cards and support All Souls. Meet me at the pledge table in Emerson Hall. Thank you.
Let's just take a moment to catch our breath. Scurrying to get here, scurrying through the week, scurrying to do all the things that life demands of us. Today we honor the mystery and complexity of life. We acknowledge that life is never static, that change is the only permanent thing that we are presented with. But we feel thankful that we do not traverse this path alone. We are grateful for being a part of a community to share our lives' transitions, both joyful and painful. This morning we light a candle for Roman Alioso. Thank you so much. Who died last week of cancer. So holding in our hearts, Roman, who died last week of cancer at age 23 after a valiant fight. This morning we're thinking of and extending our condolences to member Shirley Scott's sister, Lorraine Bishop, who died on Tuesday. This morning we're holding up together Bob Reese, on the anniversary of his death. The flowers today were given in honor by his son, Richard. It's beautiful flowers, remembering Bob Reese. This morning we heard from Everywhere Souls, Circe Allen Jr. for his transition, and for Cabrini Jordan's friend who has a cancer diagnosis. May we each find strength in one another in this hour when it's needed most. And as we enter into this moment of silence, let us continue to hold each other in our thoughts and intentions.
Yeah. All right. I love it. You know, Duke Ellington, this is the 125th anniversary of his birth, and he was really one of the main people responsible for bringing jazz music into like polite company. I mean, before him, it was really in brothels and juke joints and stuff where this jazz music came out of and was popular. It was considered the devil's music. And so, you know, the idea of bringing it into church, but he was the one. He did over 100 services in some of the greatest cathedrals of the world, bringing jazz, dance, singing, all kinds of things. And he was just a truly remarkable human being. Thank you all for lifting up his amazing music so we could celebrate a great American. So, but my question today is, why is the world the way it is? And if you aren't scratching your head thinking that right now, with everything going on, then I wonder if you're paying attention. Now, in ancient times, before we had Chat GPT and Google search engines and things, when you had a question like that about why is the world the way it is, you would go find the smartest person around that you knew, and you would ask them, and they would often say to you, let me tell you a story. And the person would tell a story about why chickens can't fly, and why camels have humps, and all those different kinds of things. And so in the earlier service, which if you know is a lot more, you know, we do a lot more of a traditional service at 10 o'clock. And I was talking about the Tower of Babel story. If you know that, it's from the Jewish Torah, the Jewish story, to answer that question. When people would say, you know, how come if we all come from the same ancestors, we have so many different people that look different and act different and speak so many languages? And so that was the question. So really every tribe, every people all over the world has some story that explains that before Charles Darwin came along and explained to people who would listen that we evolved and came from the stars and all of that. Nevertheless, even though these stories no longer have to carry the weight for most of us of explaining the scientific basis for things like chickens and camels and ethnic diversity, they still contain some relevant ideas about how to live well and how to treat one another. For example, that story, the story of Babel, we could tell Tower of Babel, we could tell, you know, a number of different stories from different cultures, but it says that underneath all of our differences, all the diversity that's all around us, human beings are one family, one people. We come from the same source. There's really only ultimately one race, the human race. And we're all siblings with one another. And I think that's pretty cool because, you know, right now with all the religious fanaticism and people trying to, you know, stamp out diversity training and all this kind of stuff, you know, to be able to say right there in the Bible, it's pretty clear. If you believe this is God's word, this is God's plan, that we're all supposed to be diverse, and that was how it was created. So I like to be able to point that out to some of the people who are making certain waves in our culture right now. But there's another important point of this story that I think is lost on certainly many Christians and those who read the Bible literally and think of it in a fundamentalist way. And that is that the story says that people's job is not to build a tower to heaven. If you know the story, it's about the people who are all trying to build a tower to get up to heaven, to be like gods, to be up as high as God, up into heaven, because they thought God was way up there. And so the story says, God's like, what are these people doing? They're wasting their lives building a stupid tower up into the sky. Is that what they think life is about? And so in the Bible story is that God like mixed up all the languages, separated people so they didn't speak the same language, so they wouldn't waste their one precious life building towers up to heaven to try to find God up there somewhere. And so many religions focus that way on heaven above or God up there, and they come together to be focused up in the sky rather than right here among one another. And religions that often focus on heaven in the next life usually tell us that this world is not what's important, and even in many cases that this world is bad. That if you see trouble or have trouble in your life, don't worry, because all will be well in the next life. Now, wrapped up in this theology is the ideas that our bodies are somehow tainted and corrupt, and even our spirits and our thoughts are depraved with sin from the moment that we're born. Now, religions that focus on the next life, they tend to focus both on hope of heaven, but also on the fear of hell. These religions often conjure up these medieval images of a torturous, fiery dungeon to scare people into behaving a certain way. But a religion or a spirituality that focuses on this life doesn't fill people's heads with foreboding fears of hell in the next world, but instead concerns itself with the very real hells right here in this world that we can see with our own eyes, like hunger and poverty and neglect and abuse and addiction and discrimination. These real hells are what a community needs to put its attention and resources into, rather than spending time and effort terrorizing people with nightmarish notions of hell in the next life, when there are people living in hell right here in this life. And we ought to try to pull those people out of hell rather than trying to pull people out of some hell that most of us don't even believe in, and certainly nobody knows anything about it. So when we come together on Sunday here for a service like this, it's meant to be a springboard. We come here to be inspired, to be filled up, to be sent out into the world, to be builders and healers and uniters. To feed the hungry, clothe the naked, to house the homeless, to comfort the widows and the orphans. When our service ends in here, that's when our service begins out there. And that's how we do our part to help create heaven here on earth. Now, you may have heard the story about the man who dies and goes to heaven. And it is said that St. Peter has given him an introductory tour. And first they pass a room and they hear people singing and dancing and breaking plates. And St. Peter explains that those are the Greek Orthodox. And they go by another room and the people are chanting and they're laughing. And St. Peter says, well, those are the Buddhists. And they pass another doorway and they hear people and they're talking passionately. They're debating feverishly. And he says, well, those are the Jews. And then St. Peter says, shh. We need to be very quiet as we pass this next room. Why is that? Asked the man. And St. Peter explains, well, this room holds the Southern Baptists, and they still think they're the only ones up here. Now, of course, not to pick on the Southern Baptists, you can pick your fundamentalist religion of choice. Any religion that thinks that they're the only ones who have a lock on the truth, the only ones that God loves, the only ones that can make it to heaven, fill in the blank, and the joke still works. But you might be asking yourself, here in the Point, in the humanist service that we have every week, why is it that we would even mention the term of heaven? But I think the point is that if we're talking about creating heaven here on earth, we kind of have to have an image of what is heaven. And I think most of us would agree that heaven would have to be a place where no one is hungry or hurt or hunted or haunted or harmed. A place where no one is lonely, left, lost, or lamenting. No one is robbed, raped, ransacked, ridiculed, run over, run off, or run down. A place where no one is denigrated, demeaned, disparaged, decried, or discriminated against. A place where people are truly united in a kinship of all humankind, regardless of their sexual orientation, their gender identity, their skin pigmentation, their creed, their culture, their color, their class. A kinship with all life includes the plants and the animals. So any religious community that I would be a part of has to at least focus on creating that kind of world right here in this life. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of babble. I think babble's the religious word for baloney. And they're just building towers to nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I can imagine that some people who look at All Souls from the outside, they probably, and they see how much we focus on justice and doing good works and loving our neighbors, that they might think we focus too much externally. They don't know what else we are doing together. But just because we love our neighbors doesn't mean that we don't love each other profoundly in this place. As a minister here, I've been fortunate to share great moments in people's lives. I've been right there in that little room we call the off-chancel room with men when they're about to get married, and the groom sweating in his tuxedo and fidgeting with his bow tie, and his brother's next to him, and his best friend from high school, and his uncle. And he's seconds away from a lifelong commitment that he's been thinking about on some level for his entire life. And we say a prayer of thanks in that precious moment. And I've also been there when a mother gave birth after the doctors told her that she would never be able to bear children. And I've been really blessed to stand up here with that family who brought that baby forward so that it could be welcomed and named before our community together, a community of love. And I've also been moved watching a daughter take a wet sponge and dampen her elderly mother's lips as her mother lies dying on a bed in the home where she grew up. There in that same home where the same mother many years earlier used to take a napkin and moisten it with her saliva and wipe the dried food off her daughter's cheek. And where the mother used to give her water and a warm hand on the back when she was a girl and was up all night with the flu. And I watched as the tears came streaming down the daughter's face when her mom finally slipped from time into eternity. And she found herself suddenly sitting in that house, feeling as alone as an orphan. You see, I've been there during incredible moments when a baby was born and survived only a few hours before dying in his father's arms. I've been in the hospital room praying with a wife and her children when there was an accident and her husband was in a coma for days, and they didn't know if he'd survive, and even if he did, if he'd ever know who they are again. And then I was blessed to be there to watch him wake up and regain his vitality and his memory and his strength and his life. I've been there to explain to a 9-year-old child that his young, healthy daddy who runs every day died suddenly while he was at school, and that he would never see him again alive. I've been called to come to an apartment building when a congregant had barricaded herself in the front office in the midst of a psychotic episode. And I was honored to be able to help her feel safe enough to go with the ambulance drivers to get the help that she needed. I've been humbled to be asked to be there for an adult son who had to tell his parents, who he loves with all of his heart, that he's gay. And he was trembling inside because he wasn't sure if they'd still love him in the same way. I've been with men and teenagers in jail when they had to deal with the stark consequences of their bad decisions and had lost their freedom for some chunk of their precious life. As a minister of this church for almost 25 years, I've been asked to be there when life is beautiful and when life is pretty tough. And I've been right here in this service when We've held a sacred silence after calling the names of some of these people like we did today, letting them know that they're held in our love and in our community. And so when we say that love is the spirit of this place, of this church, of this community, it's a courage-creating love, a hope-hearkening, sacrifice-stirring kind of love. A love that seeks to bind up the broken, a love that seeks to pour out an oil of gladness upon all the afflicted and all those who mourn. A love that begins at home, but doesn't even think about ending at the walls of this building. It's a love that doesn't sit satisfied with poverty and the poor state of public schools and hunger and homelessness and homicide. It's a love that takes seriously reality and history and mortality. And it's a love that can endure bitterness and despair without resorting to self-deception or self-defeat. If we try to build a tower to heaven, to try to deny our humanity, to deny our mortality, to deny the world's insanity, it may be tempting, but it's not living, and it's not honest, and it's not any kind of religious community that I would want to support. A spiritual community has a lot of responsibilities, but most importantly to me, I think, is helping to grow people's hearts. We might even say grow their souls. And that means learning to love, learning to say thank you, learning to trust and to be trustworthy, and learning to forgive when necessary and to say I'm sorry when appropriate. Now, I know that Roz came forward and she shared with us that it's in the stewardship time of our church and asking everybody to think about, what we can give in 2025 to support All Souls. And we need all the support we can get. It's going to be a big year for us. And so thank you for that. But before you even think about what you want to give to All Souls, I hope that you'll ask yourself, has my heart grown since I became a part of All Souls? Are you more open-hearted? Are you more generous with your money and your time and your talent? Have you suffered a loss and continued to expand and grow rather than contract? Are you living for something that you consider more important than only your self-interest? And I hope that it's the joy of this, as opposed to the fear of hell, is inspiring enough to get you to give what you can to help us make this a place for ourselves and our children and future generations to find a community like this. Because this is the world that I want to live in. And this is the world that I hope to be passing on to future generations. I think that in this moment in our history, with all the division and all the fights over what's real and what's true and all the disinformation, I think it's so easy to become cynical about our government, cynical about our fellow citizens and neighbors. I think that it's so easy to become negative and lose hope. And so to have a special community like this, a group of people where we can listen to music together, sing together, be together, hold each other through the highs and the lows of life is truly special and extraordinary. And it only happens because people like us care enough about ourselves and one another to make it happen. So thank you for all that you do. We couldn't do it without you. My wife and I are going to continue to increase, and we aim. I'll tell you my philosophy about giving to the church, since we're talking about it. And I don't like to talk about it much, so I do it this one little time a year, and then I know people don't want to hear about money all the time. So I often say that we give 5% of our income to the church, and I do that, and I try to give away another 5% to other causes that matter, the plate collection and other things going on in the world, arts and and other things. So that I kind of have this philosophy that we take 90% of what we earn or get and keep it for ourselves and spend it on ourselves and live the best life that we can. And then we give 10% back to make the world a better place, a place that we hope to live in. And that's our contribution. I think it's a good balance. I think it's a good way to live. We don't expect everybody to give 10% to the church. But I hope that you'll consider giving 5% of your income or half or some big chunk of what you give away to help make this place a special place, because I believe it really does help make this world more livable, more lovable, and more real. So thank you so much. Let us do our part to create heaven right here on earth. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wonderful, wonderful. The whole stage up here is vibrating with the bass. It's kind of awesome, actually. So one of our traditions is to give our plate away to an organization in our community doing good works in the world. We do this as a practice of living our values of love and service. This week's offering goes to the Hurricane Milton Disaster Relief Fund that's being facilitated by the Unitarian Universalist Relief Fund, working to provide assistance to communities recovering from the aftermath of disasters. Now, we need your help. help our finance team, ensure that your generosity reaches the right destination. We ask you to please make sure to mark your check or envelope with offering. And for those who are making a pledge payment to All Souls, please clearly mark your check or envelope with church. Thank you for your continued support and dedication. Are you ready to join All Souls? Are you ready? I am. Rick's ready. Let's go. If you want more information, today is today. After the service, go upstairs to room 203, follow the signs, and join us at 12:45. And you can come and join as a member, and we can talk more about the congregation to you. Folks who are new or even newish, you're also invited to go to the Sonnen Library, just outside our sanctuary doors, back here to the left, and then just across the way, to meet with some of our members of the Welcoming Souls team. We look forward to meeting you there. These devoted volunteers will be there to answer questions about the congregation, about All Souls, I should say, our history, our programs, and more. Next weekend, hold on to your hats. It's going to be so exciting here. I am excited because we're having our garage sale. Yes, Saturday, October 26th. It supports our youth. I have a big personal pile in my dining room. I'm bringing it over on Friday, October 25th, and then we can shop the sale together on the 26th. On the 27th, the next day, the Sunday, is our annual Halloween festival. It's going to be at 12:15. Wear your costume. Are y'all ready? You going to wear your costumes? Okay. I don't know if I can or not. I'm preaching. But wear your costume and join us on the West Playground for games and pizza. And today, following the service, we have a Life Decisions team hosting a workshop to help people navigate decision-making before disability or death. You can begin to complete forms concerning the end of life and receive information on how our team can assist you on these end-of-life arrangements. It is a gift to do for your family. I encourage you to go and get the information and attend the workshop. And when you're in Emerson Hall, go in Emerson Hall, check out the book table, check the other tables out, and pick up your pledge letter, please, in support of our annual Operating Stewardship campaign. For more information on all these events, that little flyer in the insert of the points service, just take that home with you. There's lots of information and details in a calendar, and also check our website. We are grateful to receive our offering this morning in support of Hurricane Milton disaster relief.
Beautiful. As we end our service and extinguish our chalice, I want to share some words from Duke Ellington. He famously wrote that it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Right? He wrote, what good is melody, what good is music if it ain't possessing something sweet? It ain't that melody, it ain't the music, there's something else that makes the tune complete. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And I will say that, that idea, what is swing, right? Descartes might have said, I swing, therefore I am. But what is that swing that makes life worth living? And I think, one of the things about this music that we're hearing, anybody can play, you can play the score, a piece of music that's written on a sheet, but to do the kind of improvising that these musicians have been doing and jazz musicians do all the time, where they take the music and go, they take their own personality and style and talent and go somewhere and the others follow along. I can't imagine a better description of our theme this month of unity and diversity. Playing your diverse tune and doing it within a group to create something even greater than the one. So that idea of it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing, it's true of music, but it's also true of your life. That, anybody can, wake up in the morning, drink their coffee, make their bed, drive to work, shop, eat, read, watch TV, be born, and die. But it's a whole other thing to put a little swing into it. So find that it's about trusting it's about knowing who you are and being willing to be your unique self, and to let other people do the same, and to trust in the process of us all being our true selves and creating something greater. May you go forth from this service and this day knowing that you are loved and you are loving. Thank you.
Do what?
Thank you.
Bye.